This is a lovely big special day, isn't it, today, VE Day?
It completely is, yeah. I mean, and
we've got to be upbeat because it was such an important celebration.
Completely. I mean, I am, all week I've been watching it on telly, and I was part of a show here on Monday night where we had veterans in and stuff. I mean, they make my heart weep, you know.
Yeah, no.
I wonder how many younger people get it.
They don't. We were talking about.
They don't get it, and I just think you should get it because that was a time when this country was at its very best when people... And, we've been talking about, haven't we, like, how there was that poll the other day saying that half of Brits wouldn't fight for their country anymore. And I'm thinking they're so pampered, they're so spoiled that they don't realise they might have to one day. There's no choice.
But it's also about the fact that they don't really grasp the nation state as a concept.
No, they have no pride in it.
They are globalist in their mindset. They see themselves as not being any different to Chinese children or American.
But they're also taught to hate us, Bev, as well.
You can have differences.
Yeah.
What was that?
I'm just saying, kids in school now are taught to hate this country. They're taught that it's imperialistic, it's racist, it's nasty.
No. I'm sorry. There is a difference between being honest about one's past, which is actually, I would argue, a prerequisite for patriotism, because patriotism shouldn't be about lying about your country. It should be about having an honest, full, open appraisal of the things that have been good in your past and things that have been bad. Saying that everything Britain has ever done have been brilliant, that's just a lie. It's not patriotic.
But don't we tend to hear more about the colonialism and the slave trade, but not the fact that we ended the slave trade and the Britain's enormous role in the Industrial Revolution, which was wonderful and brought work to all sorts of people.
I mean, on the slavery thing, I think it is when people say that we were the first to end the slave trade. OK, but we were also participants in it for a very, very long time.
So was all the world, Jonathan. So was the rest.
I don't think we can get
Name me a country back in the 1800s that wasn't participants in the slave trade.
No, you don't give Will.
That's what happened. And the biggest slavers are some of the black Africans themselves.
All I am saying is that Britain did not cover itself in glory for many centuries.
Did.
And fine, but that is not a controversial point.
But we say that. We completely admit that.
The problem is that the backlash sort of suggests that we shouldn't be talking about this at all. A kind of a Trump-like
Why don't we talk about the Roman Empire's role in slavery?
Of so-called... What you see in America right now is literally the government deleting references to abolitionists, to Harriet Tubman, etc., on sort of the federal archives, as though we
Never
can't
mind that. We're talking about here. We now have a generation that believes everything we did by colonising... Yes, it is true. They think everything about colonisation was wrong. It wasn't. There were some terrible things and there were some good things to come out of it. And that is about properly acknowledging your past.
Education.
Yes, completely.
Sanitation.
Transportation.
Yeah. There was so much that we brought to communities.
But you see, you're typical of what we're talking about.
No, I'm saying that colonisation, the empire was wrong. It was wrong, full stop. That's, the things that Britain might have done.
But that's very much through your modern sensibilities,
Yes.
you might say that, because we wouldn't now routinely go into other countries.
It was a profoundly racist set of basically invasions of other people, where we subjugated people to our rule and sort of made them work for us. It was completely
made their countries work.
But imagine yourself in the shoes of a 13-year-old boy hearing you say that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. What do they then? How do they then carry that through life?
Well,
in terms of who I am as a Brit.
But it's not about.
We had racist ancestors.
Say it,
but Bev.
But I'm saying that we hear much more of that than we do about the benefits of that period of time.
Well, because I don't think there were benefits. I think that we have to be completely...
Of course there were.
So you benefits to us.
I don't think there were.
There were benefits to us.
A lot of those countries did not... Jonathan, those countries...
It absolutely does.
Those countries did not have money. They did not have the creativity. They did not have people in positions of power to do this.
No, they didn't. Countries. They just didn't live like Britain did. It doesn't make it worse. It just makes it different.
So it's okay to live without education, and it's okay to live without a transportation system, is it?
They did have education. It just wasn't our education system. They had language. It wasn't our language.
This cultural
medicine we brought to
precisely what we have.
Yes.
I don't know. Look, I don't know why we're even arguing about it.
And this is what
because it's about national identity.
No, if it does, look, Bev.
This is the day to have that conversation.
No. I completely disagree with you. VE Day was something else. V-Day is something that should unite all people to celebrate something that was genuinely a great thing that Britain did, which was to defeat fascism and Nazism. That is one of the truly great things that Britain has done in this century. And I think that we should all be open about that. I don't think we need to make it a cultural issue, partisan. This is an untrammeled good that
Jonathan,
Britain did. Making it sort of mixing it with colonialism, I think it's so wrong because it muddies the water and says that actually colonialism was linked to V-Day, so maybe it was
Jonathan, you'll make the revisionists attack Churchill at every opportunity.
This is
every
opportunity. This is so silly.
Every opportunity. They bang on about the Bengal famine. They bang on about his role.
Andrew, why do we have to be so simplistic? Two things can be true at the same time.
No, they are.
Two things can be true at the same time. Churchill can have done brilliant things, leading this country to victory, for which we can all be grateful. And at the same time, he can have been a massive racist. And he can have said things which would be completely shocking.
Not only, a massive racist. You say a massive racist. That's in your terms, Jonathan. You're talking about racism in 2025 terms. You're not talking about.
If you look at the history of racism, you'll actually see that there are people who oppose this in exactly the same terms that we do.
I'd really like to see this.
My old tutor wrote an entire book about it. You should read it.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cyber criminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C-18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private Internet Access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Let's bring it back to today, Carole Malone.
Yes.
£4 million a day.
Oh, yeah.
Housing people who want to live here and haven't been given permission to do so.
Triple what we thought it was going to cost, Carole.
Taxpayers' money.
What the Home Office, I think it was 20 years ago, the Home Office was deemed unfit for purpose. Yeah. Look at it today. I mean, how can you miscalculate? They said it was going to cost 4-point-something billion until 2029 from 2019. Now it's going to be triple that to 15.3 billion. How in God's name do you get it so wrong? I mean, when I say who are these idiots working there, I'm not joking and insulting them. It's true. Who are they if they can't count, if they can't get these figures right? It is just, are they just idiots or have they willfully been manipulating the figures in the past when we've seen them? Because that's what it's looking like.
And on those figures, Malone, we saw Labour MPs challenging in private meetings last night, Pat McFadden, who's the Cabinet Office Minister, about benefit cuts and the winter fuel allowance. Yeah. People watching this paper think, they can take away the winter fuel allowance. Yes. They're going to take away disability benefits, but they can find £4 billion a year for hotels for migrants who shouldn't be here.
And this I don't know how much longer Stormont can limp on in this job, because he's clearly useless. He can't even deal with this. And he lied to us about immigration to get into power, and the lies continue, and it's only going to get worse. And so whatever that 15.3 billion is now today, with the record numbers we've had this year, that's going to get worse.
Those massive successes of reform in the council elections last week
completely down to this,
Jonathan. And
I think it's more than that. Actually, I think that it's the winter fuel payment, which was the original sin of this government, and then sort of adding to that, this idea that we have to sort of cut people's benefits. A lot of those people were Labour voters, so the PIP, etc. And then, so in much the same way that the Conservatives lost the election, Labour didn't win it. Labour risks losing this. Reform is not winning this per se. They didn't start. They started obviously from a decent base the last election.
Well, they are winning it because they understand immigration. They understand the problems of this mass immigration.
Yeah. I think that when you get into sort of the weeds of this migration thing, I think that it makes it much harder to make the argument about why we need to sort of house migrants and sort of pay money for that while their claims are being processed, when you've also had cuts. That's the key to it. If you hadn't had those cuts, which they shouldn't have had,
no,
by
but
the
I'm
way,
sorry, no,
then
I'm
it would
sorry.
be easier to justify. But the fundamental point,
even if we had those cuts, you cannot give over all, mass hotels in our country, then start taking all the rented accommodation for people who have come here
rented
illegally.
accommodation is much cheaper.
It doesn't matter.
But it's about money. It's either about money or it isn't.
Why are we putting them in houses? Seriously, France has been putting them in tents for years. I'm not saying do that, but build detention centres outside of cities. They do not deserve to have the houses people in this country
do not. The difference is, Carole,
and
I'm not defending France. The difference is that those people are in tents trying to get away from France. The people here in Britain are trying to stay here. That
France
is the
does not put them in hotels and houses in the way we are.
These people are here because they are seeking asylum. Whether you like that or not, it is a legal right to claim asylum.
They're scamming the system, Jonathan. Stop making it sound like these are noble people.
As I keep saying, the government could stop that overnight by reaching an agreement with France that would set up processing claim centres in France.
No, we've tried it with France. It doesn't work.
Have their claims
we've got to have
in France,
no.
so
Forget
it
France.
Needs to be over
forget
here.
France because they just take our money.
Legal routes to come over here. And
the bottom line, we need to have a system where if you come here illegally, you get sent back the very same.
Well, I'm sorry, but you're saying that no one should be no. So you're saying there are no such things as refugees.
I said people who came here illegally.
There are no legal ways for them to come here unless they come from Ukraine.
Please stop using the argument that everyone coming on the boats are people fleeing war and persecution.
Some people, we need to process them to find out who they are.
Jonathan, Carole, we're running late to the headlines.